Yeah, well, that is the essential question to start with, because a long time ago, 2 years ago, the word universe meant just what you are saying. It meant everything, the totality, every star, every galaxy, the whole shebang. So what sense could there possibly be in having more than one everything? And what we have found in research that actually dates back a number of decades, but most vigorously relatively recently, is that our mathematical investigations are suggesting that what we have thought to be everything may actually be a tiny part of a much grander cosmos. And that grander cosmos can contain other realms that seem to rightly be called universe, just as our realm has been called universe, which means that you have many universes, multiple universes, which we call them multiverse. So we were propelled by mathematical investigation to imagine the Earth is not the center. And then others, using similar kinds of reasoning, noted that the sun is actually not the center either. And then similar mathematical reasoning showed us that our galaxy is not the center. It's one of many, many galaxies. We've gone through a sequence of, if you will, cosmic demotions. By following the math, confirming it through observation, we may be on the threshold of the next demotion by following exactly the same pattern. Earth is not the center, sun is not the center, galaxy is not the center, our universe may not be the center. It may be one of many universes following exactly the same pattern. There's a multiverse that comes from string theory, which I find particularly exciting along these lines, which is called the brain multiverse, not B-R-A-I-N, B-R-A-N-E multiverse. And it comes from the following idea. So within string theory, and I think many people have at least heard of what string theory is, it's this idea that the elementary constituents of matter are little tiny particles in the old way of thinking of things that are little tiny dots. The new idea of string theory is that within these little tiny particles there's something else, which is a little tiny filament that vibrates in different patterns. This little filament looks like a little piece of string, so the idea is that deep in the heart of matter there's little tiny vibrating strings. Now, as we've studied the math of this theory more and more, we've come upon the following very interesting idea. Within this theory, there are not only these little tiny filaments. There can also be what we call membranes, giant sheets, if you will, that can have 2 dimensions or even 3 dimensions and so forth. And the math seems to suggest that at least it's possible that all that we know about, every star, every galaxy, and so forth, is living its life out on one of these membranes. It would be a 3-dimensional membrane. That's very hard to picture, so let me just do a 2-dimensional analogy. Imagine a big slice of bread, where every star and every galaxy that we know about is on this slice of bread. That is our universe. Now, this proposal suggests that there could be other slices of bread, other membranes, other universes that, if you will, are all part of some grand cosmic loaf, to use the metaphor, with our universe just being one slice of bread, one universe in this grand collection. Now, to your question, why do I find this particularly exciting? Well, at the Large Hadron Collider, there's a chance that this proposal might be tested. How would that be? Well, the collider slams protons against protons at fantastically high speed. And the math shows that in some of those collisions, if there's enough energy, if they're moving fast enough, when the protons collide, they can create some debris that will get ejected off of our universe, off of our slice of bread. How would we know that? Well, the debris would take away some energy with it. That means there'd be less energy left for our detectors to measure after the collision than before. There'd be some missing energy. People are looking for these missing energy signatures, and if the energy is missing in the way that the math suggests that it should be, this would be interesting evidence that this brain picture is correct, but suggesting that there might be other universes out there.
Across the East Coast yesterday, dozens of early risers spotted a mysterious bright light spiralling through the sky. The amazing spectacle was caught on camera by a number of people and sparked a frenzy about speculation of UFO.
Tonight, Norwegian authorities were investigating strange lights seen in the Arctic sky. The spiralling white light was seen for several minutes Wednesday morning. Locals say the light appeared to be bigger than the moon. Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been. Some feared it could have been a meteor, others a black hole, and there are even those that thought it could be aliens.
up the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there?
Thank you very much. Today, I want you to open your mind. Open your mind to the possibility that one day we will make contact with an intelligent civilization in outer space that could be thousands, millions of years ahead of us in technology. Let me make a prediction, and that is sometime by mid-century, we might make contact with an intelligent civilization in outer space. Now, why do I say this? Because even as we speak, the Kepler satellite, the Kourou satellite, are identifying hundreds of exoplanets in outer space, 500 identified so far. When we physicists look for alien civilizations, we don't look for little green men. We look for energy consumption. We look for type 1, type 2, and type 3 civilizations. A type 1 civilization has the power of an entire planet. They control the weather. They mine the oceans. They control volcanoes. They control earthquakes.
The reason I'm naming all these is, again, because of the amount of uptick that's occurred around the entire planet over the last 14 days is phenomenal. Now, this is just 5.0 and greater. When I take it down one more notch, down to 4.0, it's tremendous. You really begin to get the idea of the amount of activity going on here. You can't even begin to see all the earthquakes on the map. These are, again, 4.0 and greater. If we bring in the smaller earthquakes, it becomes too many to see. So we take it 4.0, sizable and greater, and you really get the idea that we are in a state of tremendous unrest.
A type 2 civilization in space controls the output of a star. They play with stars. They are immortal. Nothing known to science can destroy a type 2 civilization. Ice ages can be modified. Meteors, comets can be deflected. Even the death of their sun is not a problem. They can either move their planet, reignite their star, or simply find a new star in space. And then we have type 3. A type 3 civilization is galactic. For me, this is very interesting, because a type 3 civilization would be able to control the Planck energy. The Planck energy is the energy at which space becomes unstable. Space begins to boil at the Planck energy. The Planck energy is a quadrillion times higher than the Large Hadron Collider. And gateways, perhaps, wormholes, doorways, portals, perhaps to other dimensions, begin to open up for a type 3 civilization. We have type 1, which is planetary, type 2, which is stellar, and type 3, which is galactic. But one day, I was speaking in London, and a little boy comes up to me, 10 years of age. A little boy comes up to me and he says, "Professor, you're wrong. There's type 4. There is something beyond galactic, and that is dark energy. There is an energy source beyond the galaxy itself, making up 73% of the entire universe, dark energy." And then the question is, if we start to explore outer space and look for advanced civilizations, why don't they talk to us? Why don't they land here in Saudi Arabia and say, "We come in peace"? Well, my attitude is, if you walk down a country road and you see an anthill, do you go down to the ants and say, "I bring you trinkets, I bring you beads, I give you nuclear energy, take me to your leader"? Or maybe you step on a few of them. What does it mean for us? What are we? Are we type 1 that control the power of a planet? Are we type 2 that control the power of a star? Are we type 3 that can control galaxies, alter the fabric of space and time? No. We are type 0. We get our energy from dead plants, oil and coal. But take out a calculator. How long will it take for us to become type 1? The answer is 100 years. Around the year 2100, we will become a type 1 civilization. And we see the beginnings of that now. What is the internet? The internet is a type 1 telephone system. We are privileged to be alive to see the birth of a type 1 telephone system. What is the European Union? The European Union is the beginning of a type 1 economy. Why are we here today? We are seeing the birth of a type 1 economy. So let me tell you that we are now witnessing the greatest transition in the history of the human race. Transition from type 0 to type 1. The generation now alive is privileged to see the birth pangs of the birth of a new civilization, type 1. Planetary energy, planetary economy,
لا 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 بس برضه يعني انت عندك انت هتذاكر خالص مش مشكلتي هم بدأوا من اول يوم مثلا يعني انت هتذاكر الصبح ماشي.
We have an unidentified flying object.
That's the exact same thing. We saw a baby.
Except there was 5 and it was in a V. And they disappeared.
And look at the line is forming in.
It disappeared just like that too. And then it came back and then we didn't see it anymore.
See this? They go out and then they light back up.
Looks like they're coming down.
Yes, it does.
Can we go home?
Yeah, in a minute. Wish I had my binoculars.
What's that? Oh, yes. You ready up for a drive?
No.
Can't see it there.
That's what it did last time. It went behind the trees.
Talking about UFOs is passé, and that we should be talking or limiting our talk to exopolitics. Well, Stephen, I agree with you in theory, but in reality we have a problem when official U.S. policy insists that UFOs don't exist. The veil of secrecy must be lifted, and it has to be lifted now, before it's too late. It is ironic that the U.S. would begin a devastating war, allegedly in search of weapons of mass destruction, when the most worrisome developments in this field are occurring in your own backyard. It is ironic that the U.S. should be fighting monstrously expensive wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, allegedly to bring democracy to those two countries, when it itself can no longer legitimately claim to be called a democracy, when trillions, and I mean thousands of billions of dollars have been spent on projects about which both the Congress and the Commander-in-Chief have been kept deliberately in the dark. How much has been accomplished in 60 years of feverish activity by some of the most educated minds in the United States? Has America developed flying saucers that are visually indistinguishable from the visitors, as alleged? And if so, what do they propose to do with them? Well, who has the answers? Someone does. But apparently they aren't telling either secretaries of defense or presidents because they don't have, quote, a need to know. In a story told by Dr. Stephen Greer, President Clinton was asked a question by White House reporter Sarah McClendon. about why he didn't do something about disclosure. And Clinton replied, Sarah, there's a government inside the government, and I don't control it. Excuse me, doesn't the commander-in-chief and the person who allegedly has their finger on the nuclear trigger have a right to know what his subordinates are doing? The people of the United States who have paid the bills have the right to know. The people of the world demand to know because it is our descendants too whose lives are in mortal danger. It is time for the people of the United States to launch a new war against the evil of lies, deceit, and darkness, and go all out to win the victory of truth and transparency and light. Thank you.
We do see that.
Okay. That's looking out in front of the orbiter.
Okay, we're seeing 3 or 4 objects. Can you confirm that it's just the one that's actually moving? The other ones are just reflections?
No, there are 3 objects.
Still up here. There we go. Well, let's see. We've had visitors again. Yeah. Anything worth mentioning? Okay.
Houston, this is Discovery. We still have the alien spacecraft under observance.
This is crazy! I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know what's happening. Oh my god, it's afraid of us! Oh my god, I don't know what to do. Gab. Oh, it's hovering. Oh my god, I'm fucking crying right now. Gab, it's... Oh. What? What? Nicole, look at the light. It's a triangle. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm crying my eyes out right now. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! What are they? Oh god! Oh my god! I know. Oh my god, what are they doing? Fuck. Jesus Christ. What is this?
Houston, this is Discovery. We still have the alien spacecraft under observance.